Land back, everyone, land back. Come on in the room. Let's get on this Facebook Live, y'all. Let's start this Revolutionary Book Trap this beautiful, amazing Sunday morning. I'm Chief Sante. I am the Chief of Agitation and Propaganda. I'm so glad to be here, y'all. Chief T, how are you feeling this morning?
I am feeling so good. This is like to be able to like explore the works of the revolutionary who won me, to a revolutionary political line in front of like the masses is such an amazing opportunity. And I'm just really happy to be here. And by the way, I am Chief T, Chief of Economic Development. I represent the nation of India, and my pronouns are he, him, and they, them. And I'm just so happy to be here. This is my first time hosting a book trap. Land back,
Chief T. Yeah, let me introduce myself as well. I'm Chief Sante. I represent the nations of India by way of Bangalore, as well as the nation of the Philippines. I use my pronouns are he, they, and I'm super, super excited. So let's see what's up next for the Revolutionary Book Trap. It's Bhagat Singh and this book Inquilab on religion and revolution. Chief T, can you tell us what Inquilab means and like what language is it?
So the word Inquilab comes from Urdu and it means revolution. And I guess something that everyone should know, and you've probably seen this phrase floating around whenever you're looking at protests and like movements against the government happening in India, but you'll hear the words Inquilab Zindabad, which means long live the revolution. And you'll see that as like a slogan, and it was actually popularized by Bhagat Singh.
Land back, it's Inquilab literally means revolution, and Inquilab Zindabad, as Chief T said, is a slogan that the poor working class masses of colonized people in India have been using since this movement of the rise against colonialism and British imperialism over our country and our land. And this book, like the introduction itself just talks about how it doesn't remember Bhagat Singh as like this martyr who was killed as a revolutionary, but remembers him for his work and his intellectual thought that he has contributed to the masses of Indian people that allowed them to rise up and realize that they had to take power into their own hands, and that we needed to be victorious in this struggle against British imperialism.
I definitely agree. And it's wild because it has been like an ongoing struggle, right? Like a lot of people will say that, oh, like India won its freedom in 1947 when the British imperialists left. But you can see today that that is not true, right? Because the masses in India are still oppressed, not only by the imperialists and the colonizers, but also by their own government that from day one has been subservient to the interests of these imperial powers like the US and the UK. And then also like we have our own like homegrown capitalists that like exploit the land and the people. So you can say that we're not really free, and we'll keep saying Inquilab Zindabad until we are.
Period. Inquilab Zindabad until we are, Chief T. And Bhagat Singh has been through turmoils in his life, and as all colonized people do. Like his family had died from and was like exiled and was jailed by the British and was from a poor working class background. And so Bhagat Singh knew the core of the contradiction was not himself or like his capabilities or inability, but this foreign parasite, right? The British colonizers were the reasons and the root of his problems and what he had faced. And so that's what he was bringing to us in this book. And the book talks about a lot of issues that is present in current day India, with the division that we're seeing between sectors of religion, between Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs, as well as like, the different caste systems within the Hindu religion. That is all being touched on in this book here as we go much more deeper into that in our read that backs. So what do we have next up on our slide? Yes, help build Hammer City, y'all.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's Build Hammer City time. Y'all know that I do this every Tuesday, and now I'm gonna be doing it every Sunday also for the rest of this month. We need Hammer City. Like, y'all know this. The fact that there is still like nothing being done to help colonized people who have been like really affected by coronavirus, this economic crisis. But even apart from that, like, we have comrades who are suffering from like lack of clean water, like horrible landlords, all these contradictions. And the only way that they can be overturned is if we have dictatorship over our land, our resources, our labor, our lives. And Hammer City offers us a chance at that, where, all of us get to live there, have our own systems of clean water, our own systems of governance. We don't have to be worrying, oh, like, am I going to be paid at least the minimum wage for this shitty job that kills me? So let's start raising that money. I would love for some donations to come in on this Sunday morning. Land back.
Land back, yes, and you can donate at Cash App, Build Hammer City. You can donate on our Venmo as well at Build Hammer City, and on our GoFundMe, GoFundMe.com/Build Hammer City. And we're building the city, to liberate our people and to build a city where, like, our colonized people can be free of discrimination from, their nationality, from their gender, from their age, mental/physical differences, from violence and police brutality, violence from the colonial system, by pushing us out of our houses onto the streets every single day, losing our jobs and not being able to put food or money to be able to buy food on and to put on the table. And this is what we are striving to build as a revolutionary anti-colonial organization. We understand that, like, we need to have a dual contending system where our people can rely on and no longer have to depend on the state for anything, including, food, housing, shelter, water, clothes, everything. Everything is from the land, and it's going to be given to the masses of poor, working class, colonized people. All right, let me see some more donations up in here. Do we have any donations? We got $5 from Chief Oju. We got $7 from Sicko Praxis. Thank you so much, everyone, for donating. We got Chief Teray donating $5. Thank you so much, Chief Teray.
Oh, Chief Shegun got 10 on it. Thank you so much, Chief Shegun.
Land back, y'all. Let's see if we can raise a little bit more. We ain't gonna get into this book until we raise our quota for this book trap. So let's keep them donations going. Send them to your family and your friends. DM them this link. Tell them that we're going to be going over Inquilab. It's the revolution on Bhagat Singh. So let's get in this book trap, y'all. You know what's it about.
Yes. Yeah, like this political education is for the masses, so make sure you share with your friends and your family, and you're sharing in every Facebook group you're in. Share on your Instagram, your Twitter, your Clubhouse, whatever social media you're on. Ooh, Bikia got $20 from a European.
Yes,
get those reparations, and $5 from me, land back. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief Yabe. Yes, get those reparations from the colonizer, because we know that all their resources have been stolen from poor working class colonized people. And, as we get into this book trap, we'll actually see the horrors and the violence that was imposed on Indian people through British colonialism. Thank you so much, Chief Amoxi, getting us $5. Thank you so much, Chief Amoxi. We got Comrade G-Day donating $10 because it's been a minute. Land back, Comrade G-Day. Thank you so much.
Land back.
Land back. All right, let's get into our first read that back for this morning. Actually, no, we got a question, a trivia for y'all. Chief T, do you want to read out those questions for us?
Yes, yes. We want to make sure that y'all actually read this book. So, in what city did Bhagat Singh do most of his revolutionary work? Option A, Lahore. Option B, Jaipur. Option C, Hyderabad. Or option D, Indore. Come on, y'all. I wanna see what y'all are saying in the comments. I wanna see if y'all actually read this book or did you just show up here unprepared? All right.
Land back. Yes, I've always wanted to go to Jaipur. Jaipur, I heard, is the pink city of India, Rajasthan. It is absolutely gorgeous. All these places in India are, I mean, not Lahore. Lahore is actually in Pakistan, but what are the answers? Okay, Comrade Katunson says C. Is that right? Chief T, is it C? Hyderabad?
I don't know. I do want to see more people answering before I give them a hint. And right, like Chief Oju said, if you get it wrong, send $3 to Hammer City. Is it A? Ooh, I see a bunch of people saying A. Is it A? Chief Sante, is it A?
Yes, it is. Can we get the answer up on the screen? It is Lahore. So Bhagat Singh was born in present-day Lahore, which is now Pakistan. We also are going to be talking more about that in this book trap, the divide between Pakistan and India and what that looks like, and understanding that politically. But yes, this is where Bhagat Singh was born and did most of his revolutionary work. Land back. All right, so let's get into our Read That Facts for this morning. I'm super excited to be reading the words of Bhagat Singh. So once we pull that up, I'll be ready, but land back.
Ooh, we have our first read that back. I'm going to read this out loud. When suffering from hunger and strife, everybody is prepared to shun all principles. One is ready to do anything when confronted with the question of life or death. But it is very difficult to have economic improvement in such a state of affairs as the present because the government is an alien one and doesn't let the conditions of the Indians improve. We must therefore change it at any cost. Until it is changed, we should not rest. We need to inculcate class consciousness to prevent people from fighting. The poor workers and peasants should be clearly told that their foremost enemies are the capitalists and they should keep aloof from their maneuverings and not be instigated by them. People all over the world have similar rights, whether they belong to any race, caste, or creed. Your welfare lies in becoming united and trying to snatch the power from the government to take it in your hands. You would lose nothing by doing so. Instead, one day you would be liberated from your shackles and achieve economic freedom. Lamb back. Y'all, that's just our principles of unity number 2 and 4, right? That like all these divisions, we know that are created and, exploited by the colonizers, by the colony, right? And our interests lie in uniting despite of those differences. And fighting for our freedom, fighting for our liberation, right? And like it's us who's going to have to fight for that freedom. No one is going to do for us. As Black Hammer says, the colonized proletariat, the colonized poor and working class people are the leaders of the revolution. Land back. Chief Sante, what do you think?
Land back. I think you absolutely summed it up perfectly, Chief T. What Bhagat Singh was talking about in that text was our principles of unity right there. Like you had laid out, our point unity number 2 talks about equality between colonized people, regardless of the different sectors that we may represent as an individual, but we understand collectively we are all equal as colonized people. And that the fourth principle of unity is that we are the true leadership. The text said, inculcate class consciousness within the peasants and the workers of India. And that's something that, we practice here in Black Hammer as well, is the process of criticism and self-criticism, understanding our position and our upbringing as well, knowing what class do we represent, how our outlook is shaped by our environment and our and our situation. And that's what it meant to inculcate class consciousness within the peasants and workers of India, so that we can put aside our I don't want to say put aside our differences, but bringing our differences and uniting as one and becoming one. And in the first chapter, Bhagat Singh beautifully puts that he wants to usher in a world where no one is a stranger to each other, and no one is unaware of like who this person is, because everyone knows each other. That is a world that Black Hammer wants to usher in as well, a world where no one lives at the expense of another. And so I just really, really appreciate that. Read that back. It was it really broke it down for us. What are people in the comments saying? Are there any questions? All right, Chief Shegun said, the text seemed to center capitalism. Can y'all talk about how colonialism is at the core of our class relations with the white ruling class and the puppets they set up? He talks about capitalists being our main enemy. Land back. Yes, full unity with that, Chief Shegun. That is the separation of, colonialism and capitalism, understanding that capitalism has arisen from colonialism. It is a symptom of colonialism, and that there is no such thing as the white worker. There is no such thing as a white worker or a white peasant. It's always been the white ruling class that has had dictatorship over colonized people's labor, over our lives, over our land, and over our resources. What do you think, Chikti?
Lambak, no, I fully unite with this question. And I do think that, the reason a lot of that is missing from Bhagat Singh's analysis is because at this time, this was still in the 1920s. The only revolution that had happened so far was the one in Russia. And, the schools in India at the time were all run by the British. All the books that you could read, they were severely controlled by the British. So the understanding that we have today, unfortunately Bhagat Singh did not get to have that, because today we can look back at that whole period and we see Mao and Ho Chi Minh, and we see Che and Fidel Castro. And so we have been able to develop this analysis. But yeah, you're right, Chief Shegun, that we understand that capitalism developed out of colonialism, and that we are against both. Capitalism is not our main enemy. It is the entire system of colonialism.
Land back. I fully inherit that, QT, and it is something that we can pinpoint to in the system was that the education system in India was entirely controlled by the British. That whatever books were published, as long as it didn't have anything, that tied to Indian nationalism, that tied to the liberation of Indian people, that was not, allowed under the rule of the British. And so how Bhagat Singh had come to learn about, other revolutions and about this class consciousness idea was through the books that were given. And he had learned about Marx and Lenin actually in libraries that had translated the works into Hindi. And so I believe as well, a lot of the things that we are reading from Bhagat Singh was originally in Hindi, and a lot of things can be translated, mistranslated as well. Because as we will read in one of our later read that backs, he really does understand the true root of the contradiction is this parasite that is, sapping out all of our resources, our life force from our people and the land. He understands that this foreign rule of the British over India cannot continue and cannot sustain itself, and that it is only sustaining itself by living off of our people. And so, yeah, I definitely, think that Bhagat Singh was coming to the understanding of where we are at right now. And, Black Hammer, in our fourth principle of unity, we understand that the white ruling class cannot be cannot be the leaders of the revolution. That just don't make sense. It's colonized people that are leading this revolution. Laying back. Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, colonized people receive colonized education. If he read about Haiti, he'd be on anti colonialism. And then Comrade Benjamin said, ooh, yes, the parasite lives off the life force of the nation they're leeching off of. Britain is a parasite. Lamb back. No, I truly unite with this. And yeah, like, I also want to say that Bhagat Singh he was like martyred at a very young age, right? So we didn't even get to see that like development of his political line, because even from the time that, he was arrested, he spent like 2 years in prison. And like, as we go through this book, we will see the evolution of his political line. Because all of us deserve to have that growth, and that was taken away from him from the British, who executed him, for his, for him, because he was fighting against them. He was fighting against capitalism and imperialism. So yeah, I just also wanted to add that.
Land back. I unite with that, Chief T. Looks like we got a couple of read that back in the comments. We should definitely go over that. Yes, Chief Shagun with the read that back, page 15. Will you be able to keep your cool, seeing your most beloved ones, whom you would like to keep before your eyes all the while, being sacrificed and tortured before you? Will you be able to jump into the fire, your loved ones, and bid adieu to the world smilingly? If yes, then take the test. But if there is any doubt, for God's sake, leave the hypocrisy. We must be steeled. Period. Chief Sheikh Goon, thank you for that. Read that back. I definitely unite with this. It's hard to internalize what this work actually means, but we have to prepare ourselves mentally, spiritually, physically, in all assets of what this revolution is going to entail. And we know that the colonizer knows no bounds. The colonizer knows no rules when it comes to, this war against poor working class colonized people, and us trying to, win our humanity back that they had stolen from us. And we have to be ready. We have to stand firm on our feet. We have this, and this is what Bhagat Singh was talking about in the first chapters, is that if we want to fight for what he calls universal brotherhood, Vasudeva Kutumbakam, this is something that we have to resolutely fight for and choose to, be strong in our resolve, like that. Even in a situation where the colonizer is holding, your loved ones hostage, that this would not phase you, because you understand that this movement, this continuation needs to happen. Like, the liberation of our people cannot stop. And yeah, that was a very powerful read that back. What did you think, Chief T?
No, I'm back. I just want to unite with everything that you said, because yeah, like, the thing is that, yeah, like, revolution does ask that of us, as we read in Ho Chi Minh's works too, right? That like the people really had to like give their all, and that, many people lost their loved ones. And that might happen to us too, because it's the same colonial powers that we're still fighting today. And we know that they don't have a conscience. We know that, they're not human, uh, as we understand it to be. So yeah, I do want to unite with every single thing that you said, Chief Sante. And yeah, that we have to be steeled. And it also just like, shows you that, there is a lot of people who proclaim to be, like revolutionaries or activists, who are not prepared for this, right? Like, they can easily be swayed by words, they can easily be swayed by money. And Black Hammer understands that we cannot compromise on the liberation of colonized people. We cannot have another 100 years of this parasitic system. So yeah, we really do have to be steeled like that. Thank you so much, Chief Shagun, for that. Read that back.
Land back. All right. Chief T, will you read this next one?
Yes, lamb back. What this means is that all religions are the same in the first place. They all exhort us to speak the truth, not tell lies, and live harmoniously. Some people have called this individual religion. There can be no clash over this, and such ideal thoughts should be there in every person. Next comes the matter of philosophy. We have to say that philosophy is the outcome of human weakness. There is no clash in it. When we are unable to understand something, then we try to
Apply our mind.
oh,
I'm reading it from the book as well, but
okay.
Oju, thank you so much for continuing that. Go ahead.
Yeah, next comes the matter of philosophy. We have to say that philosophy is the outcome of human weakness. There's no clash in it. When we are unable to understand something, then we try to apply our mind to it to draw conclusions. Lamb back. Ooh, that was a good read that back. And that is from the essay in which Bhagat Singh talks about, like religion and there is this contradiction of like religious tensions in India that has like existed for a really long time. India is a nation that has like a lot of religious and like cultural diversity, and instead of like that being the thing that we unite on, a lot of us have been swayed by these colonizers and these neocolonial sellouts who try to exploit religious differences in order to further make sure that we're subjugated, make sure we're divided, make sure that we're not able to like fight back for what we really need, which is like dictatorship. um and yeah, he does talk about how like at the basis of every religion is those really important um, models of like that we must seek the truth, we must help the poor, right? And we must like love each other. Those are like the morals that every religion preaches at its core. And a lot of people are won to revolution because of that, right? But what we must stand against though um you know is like people who preach like inequality. If for example, like we've touched upon the caste system in the introduction of this book, and the caste system, unfortunately, like it is this like way of dividing the people of India, like and South Asia in at large. And it is like this like horrifying system that says that like if you are born into this, like you have to do this job, and it creates this system of like untouchability. And as revolutionaries, and as people equipped with the second principle of unity, we know that that is like incredibly wrong, right? That we cannot practice these systems such as like untouchability, or like forcing people to follow the same profession just because they are born into it. Like if you look at the news in India today too, like so many Dalit and like so-called lower caste people like lose their lives because either they try to do something that is outside of what is prescribed to them by this system, or like they die working, trying to do things like working in sewers, and like things that no human should absolutely be doing. So yeah, like I think that this essay by Bhagat Singh was just like really important because yeah, like we all religions, they preach this like basic morality, and that is good. We need to champion that, but what we will not champion is things that go against the principles of unity, things that preach inequality. Lamb back.
Lamb back. I just want to read this quote that Oju had dropped. We cannot indulge and practice our divisions within our colonized nations. The colonizer will use them, old and new ones created by them, to maintain their strangle on our people. Period. Period. Lamb back. I also want to unite with what you said, Chief T, just on religion and breaking it down for us in the current context of like what is happening between our sectors of religion within India right now. We also see that there is still tension between Hindus and Muslims, just fighting that's happening every day, that we see each other killing our own people based on religion. And this was a really, really important thing for Bhagat Singh to talk about and address, because a lot of other, well, I guess not other, but Western philosophers like Marx and Lenin and all these other colonizers didn't really address like religion in this aspect of like how it affected colonized people, because Bhagat Singh really just saw and understood that, you know, even if we have our like differences, that we are able to still unite and become a collective, and to put that aside and listen to other people's views too, like not just, you know, understanding that, oh, just my view is the right one and the sole religion that will, you know, bring me salvation, but it's also like that the views of our, you know, our Indian people are valued and are respected and treated like individual human beings, because religion is really important to humans, and we'll see that in our Read That Back, which I want to go over more in detail. So if we could pull up our Read That Backs, it's gonna be great. All right. So India at present is in a very pitiable condition. The followers of one religion have become sworn enemies of those of the other. These days, being a follower of one religion is to be the enemy of the other. If one doesn't agree with this view, then one merely has to look at the latest incidents of riots in Lahore. How Muslims murdered innocent Sikhs and Hindus, and how Sikhs also did not leave any stone unturned in murdering Muslims vengefully. This was not done because the other was guilty, but because the other was a Hindu, a Sikh, or a Muslim. Being a Sikh or a Hindu was sufficient reason for Muslims to kill him. Similarly, it seemed enough for a Hindu or a Sikh to kill a Muslim, for his being Muslim alone. Only God can save India in such a situation. Indeed, under circumstances, the future of India looks very dark. And indeed, it is a very dark time, you know, when we see this horizontal violence between our own people, right, over religion is something that we need to tackle today. You know, as Black Hammer is, you know, practicing like our principles of unity, especially our second principle of unity. You know, we have our own spiritual quadrant within the organization that allows for our comrades who are spiritual to allow themselves to practice their spirituality freely as well, and without, you know, anyone impeding them. What did you think about this? Read that back, Chief T.
No, I definitely unite with it. Yeah, like if you look at South Asia today, and like very specifically India, right, where we have this, like Hindu nationalist government that wants to create this like nation of only Hindus. And it's, yeah, like when you like look into the philosophy of like, the BJP, and its parent organization RSS, like the philosophy of like Hindutva, it is like, this like really disgusting ideology that does not only like preach this, supremacy of one religion over all others, but it also is like one that enforces caste, it enforces gender violence. Like you can really see in states where like the BJP has come in power, like my own state, which I grew up in, Uttar Pradesh, like violence against women it has become like such a horrifying thing, where you read every day in the newspapers where like, women have been like sexually assaulted, women have been like killed. And you see the same happening on caste lines, where there have been so many attacks by like upper caste people on like Dalit women specifically. And like no one challenges that, because that's what the BJP wants. And like that is one of the ways that it keeps our people divided, right? Like if we're so busy like fighting and defending ourselves on the lives of gender and caste, how can we ever like, arrive at the true the true like this idea that, it's not it's not us that are the problem, it's these colonialists and like the neo-colonialists who are creating these conditions in which we are so like impoverished, in which we in which like this violence against us happens over and over again, and no one does anything to solve it. So yeah, I just like really really unite with this read that back that you chose. And yeah, like it is a really dark situation, but it's going to take like resolve on the part of, revolutionaries like the ones at Black Hammer, and also um Indian people who recognize that, like we can no longer afford to be partitioned on the lines of religion. We have to we have to move across that. And you can see a wonderful example of that at the farmers protest today, right, where you see people from so many different religious backgrounds. They said yes, also Chief Sante's background. I love that. But yeah, you can see at at these farmers protests that people are coming, despite all these like religious backgrounds. People are coming like regardless of their gender, their caste. They recognize that, that these farm laws, which further like increase this strangle of imperialism and capitalism over the Indian working class, that it must be removed at all costs, and we cannot afford to be divided by caste or gender or religion anymore. So you really see that unity in these like over 300 million people that have been protesting for over 100 days now against the Indian state. So yeah, like it is a dark situation, but there is, light at the end of the tunnel. We see the solution in front of our eyes, and as Hammers, we see the solution in our second principle of unity.
Land back, Chief T. Amazing breakdown of that. Read that back. It is tying to the current struggles of the masses of poor working class Indian people today, and that there are divisions between our own people, whether that be religion, whether that be gender as well. And it's something that Bhagat Singh saw as a way for the foreigner to exploit the movement and basically hinder any progress within the Indian people, right? And that's how they portrayed Indian people at the end of the day, that like, oh, all these Indian people are fighting against each other on the basis of religion. The masses of Indian people are only violent and this, and like portraying us in a very, very poor light. This is something that the British had always done to Indian people, is that they had used our situation and exploited it. And our literacy rate in India was, I believe, less than 20% at this time. Like, not a lot of people in India were even given the ability to read, because that had been stolen from us too. And just like seeing that, like, really, really, really excessive exploitation of poor working class people by the colonizers is truly insane. But that is why we choose to fight against the colony, and that is why we choose to build a revolution for our people, colonized people, where no one lives at the expense of another, regardless of any of the things that we believe in, and that we fight in. We believe in the principles of unity. We believe in self-determination of colonized people worldwide. And we believe in the anti-colonial movement. Land
All
back.
right. Yeah, and I think that this is a great segue into starting some fundraising again for Hammer City, where all of us colonized people will live together regardless of the nations we represent, the religions we represent, regardless of mental and physical differences. And this is a city where we no longer depend on the colony to take care of us. We will have our own jobs. We will have our own work where we actually create for our own communities and not let our labor be appropriated by this colony. We will grow our own food. We will have our own healthcare systems. There will be no cops, no rent, no coronavirus, and best of all, no white people. So yeah, like I dream of this, this vision of Hammer City over and over every day, and I know that it can be a reality. So I do want to see more donations coming in. All right. And we know that our own Hammers, we're poor and working class. So we often like don't have a lot of money, but we do know a lot of people. So please, please, please hit up your contacts, and also like hit up some colonizers. They need to pay reparations right now. And yeah, we're already at $77 from our goal of 100, which means we're only $23 away. And I think that we can get that done. I think that not only can we like fulfill this goal, we can go over it. So, Lambak, let's get those donations coming in. Please share this live with your friends and your family. Ooh, we got $5 from Chief Endu. Lambak, thank you so much, Chief Endu.
Land back. Thank you, Chief Endu. Yes, continue to donate to Build Hammer City. You can go on Cash App, Build Hammer City, Venmo, Build Hammer City, and GoFundMe.com/Build Hammer City. Y'all, we are being real when we say that we are providing for our people at all fronts. And this is just the next step in advancing the anti-colonial struggle, right? Where we'll be able to provide jobs, housing, food, healthcare, and returning the land to the indigenous peoples of this land, right? The Turtle Island Nation is going to be under the leadership of our land liberators, who are the indigenous comrades of Turtle Island. Land back. Okay, wait, we got a donation from from Chief Ren, who got $10. Thank you so much, Chief Ren. We know you want to get free and build Hammer City with us. We got $5 from Chief Ismat as well. Thank you so much, Chief Ismat. Yeah, we are only $18 from our goal now.
I think it's even less. I think it's even lesser because that $18 was after we got Chief Nduvisi's donation. So then we got, I think we're only like $3 away from our goal. So I know that we can go like above and beyond this $100. Come on, y'all.
Yes, we got $3 on it. I'm going to donate $5 to Build Hammer City because I want to get free. Oh, we got $10 from Comrade D in the YouTube comments. Land back, Comrade D. Oh, we got $20 from Ina. Land back, Comrade Ina.
Land back. I love this. See, I told you our hammers will go above and beyond this goal of $100. I know this. I do this fundraising call every week, so I know my hammers. I know they always come through. But yeah, thank you so much, y'all, for raising that money for Build Hammer City. And let's get back to this political education.
Land back. Thank you so much, everyone, to those who donated. Continue sharing your Read That Backs in the comments. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. You can go to our Facebook. Make sure to share this Facebook Live on all the groups that you're in. Land back. All right, we got our first Read That Back from Comrade Federico. All right. However, the movement we went to the villages with our message of human equality and brotherhood, government agents started inciting the Jat community, saying that this would embolden the menials into refusing to serve them. This was sufficient to provoke the Jats to oppose our efforts in the right direction. But the upper caste should also realize that their own status in life cannot change for the better, as long as they persist in considering these people inferior, realize that their own status in life cannot change for the better as long as they persist in considering these people inferior, calling them menials, and keeping them under their heels. It is argued that they are unclean. The harsh truth is that they are poor, removed from their poverty, and they shall be clean. Land back. So that Read That Back. Thank you so much, Comrade Federico. That was talking about the class caste system within the Hindu religion, specifically the lowest class within the caste system of the Hindu religion, which is the Dalits and the untouchables, and that this specific caste was not even deemed worthy of being touched by another human. And like if you read the book, or if you read stories from famous like Dalit movement freedom fighters like B.R. Ambedkar, he talked about his stories in school as an untouchable who went to school and wouldn't be allowed to mingle with the other students from these upper castes, and as well, like even with the teachers and the peons in the school, like even getting water, they weren't able to touch the pot of water which they poured into his cup. Like he would have to have the water poured for him, because he's just not worth, touching this metal, this silver pot. And that is absolutely, absolutely insane. We despise this, this behavior that the colony shows towards our people, and that is not how we should be treating our people. And Bhagat Singh understood and knew this as well. What do you think, Chief T?
Yeah, and I think that it's like it's really important to point out that very specifically that they went to this village seeking this message of equality, and the government at the time, which was composed of the British imperialists and the sellout class of Indians, most of whom were like upper caste and came from really wealthy backgrounds. They chose to exploit this by like inciting the upper caste community in that village to say, oh, like this message of equality they're preaching, if they have that, then you won't have these people do your menial labor for you. And yeah, like it's just like, yeah, like you said, it is like really wild that that we can like let ourselves be divided by that. Like in Black Hammer, we know that we're not fighting for a world where we can just subjugate one another again. We're not fighting for this world where like that only like a people of a certain caste or religion can be at the top. No, we're not fighting for that. We're fighting for like true equality, true dictatorship of the colonized people. And and the Dalit people of India, the Dalit people, the indigenous people of India, like these are like the true working class. They're the ones who have the worst jobs, the ones who are overlooked by the government the most. And we know that everyone, regardless of their caste, does deserve dictatorship over their land and their lives. And we should not let these like petty divisions cloud the true dream of freedom, of liberation, and of true equality, where we don't live at the expense of another. And it's, yeah, like it is really wild to me that you would rather, have the British be exploiting you just so that you can maintain your little caste system than unite, across these divisions and fight for true freedom. And you see this, not just happening in the 1920s and, all through the time that the British were, in India, situated in India. And this division was used to stop any progress. You see it today also. Just pick up like any newspaper from India and you will see news of this caste-based violence. You will see these like caste-based divisions. And yeah, like it's disgusting. Like we can no longer let this divide us, y'all. The colonizer has made so much money off of our backs just because we let ourselves be distracted by these petty divisions. So yes, we do need to make this effort of uniting ourselves across caste. No, like nobody deserves to do your work for you. You have to do your own goddamn work, okay? And yeah, like the world that we're fighting for, yeah, like we're not gonna create like another servant class. um and I really unite with this read that back that you chose, Comrade Federico. I think it goes really well with our principles of unity. But we're short on time, and I also want to see other read that backs. Yeah, can we pull up the next read that back, please? Ooh, this is my own data back. I love that. If religion, on the other hand, can blend with open mindedness, then there can be no objection to it and it should be welcomed. But the different organizations and their partisan food habits need to be changed. The words touchables and untouchables need to be eliminated. Until we become united by leaving aside our narrow mindedness, we cannot cooperate. Thus, by moving ahead as per the path laid out above, we could move towards freedom. The meaning of our freedom is not only to liberate ourselves from the clutches of the English, but also complete independence when all people live together harmoniously, liberated from mental slavery. Lamb back. No, I just like really united with this when Bhagat Singh said that, because like Chief Sante was talking about, a lot of like Western like yeah, I get, yeah, like Western revolutionaries or like Western like leaders of these like socialist movements, they really shy away from religion, and they fail to see that religion is such an integral part of colonized people's lives. And we see that in a lot of colonized revolutionaries in Africa and like Pachamama, where they have united people across religious lines, and people across different religions have come together to fight against the colonizer, to fight against capitalism. So yeah, I just really like that, read that back, that the problem is not religion, but when it comes to religiosity, like it is still our responsibility as revolutionaries to be open minded, to be accepting of these of ideological differences, as long as they're not preaching inequality, right? Like, yes, we encourage religion, but if the way you're practicing your religion preaches these barbaric practices like untouchability, or like the mistreatment of women, or like our queer and trans colonized people, that then that is like unacceptable. And that is what I think that Bhagat Singh also wanted, that we we can have religion, we should have religion, but what needs to be practiced alongside is also this open mindedness, and also keeping in sight our end goal, that end goal of a universal brotherhood that Bhagat Singh was talking about, and that we speak of with our second principle of unity, that we are all equal, regardless of these differences. Lambak Chief Sante, what do you have to say on this?
Land back. I just unite with what you said, Chief T. I think you said it all. You really laid out like what that quote was talking about, with like all the menial, quote, menial jobs that the untouchables were, forced to take. They have like put this in this broader social perspective that like untouchability had this like really pernicious side effect. Like people in general get used to hating jobs like sweeping like the streets, or like cleaning toilets, and weavers who produce the clothes off our back. Like though they were the ones that were considered untouchables. And it's completely insane to us that like these members within the society are deemed untouchable when they are the ones that are providing that life as well. Chief Oju said that we will use spirituality and all tools to further revolution. We just can't let any tool or any part of who we are divide us. No more touchables and untouchables, period. And we will speak that truth into power through the anti-colonial revolution that we are building here in Black Hammer. I do want to get into our last read that back for today before we can get into the other read that backs in the comments. They're just amazing. Thank you all so much for bringing your read that backs. We know that this is a really special time for us as an organization as well, to really learn about the Indian Revolution and our history. So I'll go ahead and start reading. The next issue is that what is, quote, practical politics? Welcoming and listening to the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, and Subhash Chandra Bose amounts to practical politics. And what can be said of welcoming an official commission or the viceroy? Is that not the other aspect of politics itself? Everything relates to government, and the administration of the country could be considered as being a matter of politics. Then is this not also a politics? It would be said that the government is pleased by the first and gets annoyed by the second. Then it becomes a question of what the government likes or is annoyed by. Should students be taught the lesson of sycophancy from the moment they are born? In our view, till the foreign exploiters rule India, they are traitors. They are not human beings, but animals, slaves of their greed. Then how can we assume that students can learn a lesson of loyalty? Land back. So this read that back talks about it's from the chapter of the students and our role in the freedom struggle as students, as young, colonized people in our youth, ready to dedicate our entire lives to the liberation of our people. I think Bhagat Singh really touched on what students can do for the movement, and it's as simple as like if you are going to school in order to like get these skills and learn this knowledge that can be applied practically. Where is it being practically applied to? Is it being practically applied to for building white power and working for these corporations, and using our skills and our knowledge and labor as colonized people to build for this white power system? Or are we using it to further the liberation of our colonized people? And I think that last sentence that really talked about foreigners ruling over India, that they are not human beings but animals and are slaves to their own greed. That is, I think, an absolutely powerful statement of just the distinction between us and the enemy. Right, the enemy is the white ruling class. The enemy is the oppressors who have stolen our labor and our lives to build for the colony. Right. Sycophancy means behaving a certain way towards someone important of higher status to get an advantage. Yes, so Bhagat Singh was talking about like the sycophancy of students. How they, how students are like, I guess, forced to serve the white bourgeois academia. Through like learning to be this like sycophant. Sycophant is someone who's like a like pleasing your massa kind of good concept. What do you think about that, Chief T?
No, yeah, I just really want to unite with this. And it kind of, this whole chapter just made me think about myself, as like a young person and like a student, that, yeah, and like the way that like my parents and the people around me have like always reacted to that is, my parents like always like keep telling me that, like, don't like talk back to your teachers, don't, um, and that like you should all this like political stuff you should wait until you are in until you're like more grown, and then you can get like a position of power, and then people will actually listen to you, but in the meantime you should just shut your mouth up. And I like, especially after coming into Black Hammer, I realized that that's not true, because by by working to get into those positions of power, you are selling out, right? And by that point, you no longer have the interests of your own people in your mind. You are serving the interests of the colonizer, of the bourgeoisie. So yeah, I just like really, really united with this PE, and Bhagat Singh's call to action for young people, for students, is that that we as young people we have to engage in politics. Like, if people always say that like the young people, like, we're the next generation, we're the future of this planet, and we really are. Like, we are the people who have to really give our lives and everything we have learned so far into the revolution, and make sure that we're building this amazing new world where our people do not have to live in this state anymore. So yeah, I just like really united with Bhagat Singh in this like entire essay, that yeah, like he not only called out these teachers and school administrators, but also called out these students on their complacency, and letting them, and saying that like yeah, like, why are you letting yourself become into this situation where you are subservient to these imperialists, where you are subservient to the interests of capital? So yeah, I really like this read that back.
Land back. Yeah, you absolutely are right, Chief T. The students of India need to focus on not ascending this like ladder to white power and selling out your own people in the process of that, but committing class suicide through understanding and learning that knowledge of of what our ancestors have preached, like living peacefully and harmoniously with one another, and practicing the virtue of universal brotherhood and Vasudeva Kutumbakam. That's like not a new concept, but something that has, been around since, our ancestors, before our ancestors were colonized and the Europeans came and stole everything. So we got time for one more. Read that back from the audience before we move it into our announcements. We got one from Chief Mace. All right, hashtag read that back. So the second factor which added fuel to fire were the newspapers. The profession of journalism, which was once regarded as a very noble one, now it has become evil. These people arouse public sentiment by writing bold headlines in the newspapers against one or the other and compel people to start fighting with one another. Not limited to just one or two places, riots started in many locations just because of the fact that local newspapers had written articles that stoked passions. Very, very few writers maintain their cool in such situations. The actual duty of newspapers is to educate, to liberate people from narrow-mindedness, eradicate fundamentalism, to help in creating a sense of fraternity among people, and build a common nationalism in India. But these papers behaved in a manner entirely antithetical to their duties. Their sole motive was to spread hysteria, preach narrow-mindedness, fundamentalism, instigate clashes, and destroy the common heritage of India. That is why one is so pained to see the present condition of the country, and one wonders what will happen to our country.
Lamb back. I just want to say that is an amazing read that back. And I'm not just thinking about newspapers in India, but, just like media in general. Like, right now we see Western media trying to incite violence against China and against a lot of other like revolutionary colonized nations. And, that is what they're doing, that instead of, forging that unity between our people, they're inciting this violence. And we see that within the US too, with like colonial media trying to pit different people of different regions, like people like Africans against Asians, Africans against the people of Pachamama. And like, yeah, it's disgusting the way that colonial media has like always acted in pitting us against each other. But then it also just made me think about Black Hammer Times, and that the fact that Black Hammer Times is that like revolutionary newspaper, forging that colonized unity and like really educating us and like telling us to look beyond that fundamentalism and that divisiveness of the colonizer and the colonial media. So yeah, that was an amazing read that back, Chief Mace, especially coming from you and like the Black Hammer Times. Yeah, I think it's just like very pertinent to the current situation we're in and the role of Black Hammer Times in educating and uniting the colonized masses.
Land back. Yes, I absolutely unite with this read that back. It's wonderful to like hear about what the actual duties of a anti-colonial journalistic newspaper should be, and it's what we already have within our organization. We have an apparatus for that. It's the Black Hammer Times, led by our very own editor-in-chief, Chief Mace. Shout out. Like, we have the baddest anti-colonial, revolutionary news apparatus with headlines that are able to like captivate and agitate the masses of people, and at the same time educate them on what not the problems within our society are, just the problems, but like the solutions as well to that. And I'm really, really excited to just continue reading this book, as we are closing off in a little bit, and as I get into to the exciting announcements that we have. But I'm just very, very excited to continue this book. How do you feel about this book so far, Chief T?
Lamb back. I feel really, really good. And I'm just so excited to continue reading it because, at the end of the day, like it was like reading, Bhagat Singh was like a revolutionary that was really familiar to me, because I grew up in India and like I had heard his name many times. Like when I was in the 8th grade, my school even like put on a play about him and I was in it. But yeah, and it was like, that familiarity, and then like growing up and actually reading his political line, like reading the vision that he has outlined for our people. That was what won me to this, to being here. Like that's the reason, I made the further steps to then even read like revolutionaries from like, African revolutionaries in America, or like and like learn about all these other freedom movements around the world. And like that is why I'm here. So just like, going through this process of reading the book alongside my comrades, it's just like such an amazing feeling. And I'm so excited for the rest of this month. I know that, it's going to prompt a lot of really good conversations. But yeah, I'm so excited. And let's get to these announcements. Do you want to go first, Chief Sante?
Land back. Yes. So up first we have our reparations corps. We're starting our 8-week boot camp. So what is the reparations corps? This is our program for colonizers who want to commit, want to begin the process of committing national suicide and disuniting with the colonizer nation that has killed, slaughtered, and murdered our people. And using that in the name of Europeans. So if you want to disunite with that and commit national suicide, join our reparations corps today. We have amazing educators and a political education class program that we have planned out. And if you have a white friend that is interested in becoming a part of the reparations corps, send them this link. You can go to blackhammer.org/reparations for more info. Our 8-week boot camp begins this Sunday on the 14th of March. So make sure to get them signed up today so they can start their first class on boot camp next Sunday on the 14th of March, which is actually my birthday, y'all. Just wanted to put
Wow! Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, so you'll be seeing me on the book trap on my birthday. All right. So what chapters are we reading, GT?
Next week, we will be reading chapters 69 again with me and Chief Sante. So make sure, you read this book over the week. Come prepared with your questions, your read that backs. And we'll be here again to discuss this amazing book with you. Yeah. Any more announcements?
Yes, I just want to quickly announce as well that we are going to be going live on our Instagram really quickly with our 3 main leaders, our Commander-in-Chief Ghazi, our Secretary General, as well as our Minister of Defense, Seen. So we will be going live on our Instagram shortly after this book trap, so stay tuned for that as well. But other than that, I don't have anything else for y'all. Yes, I am a Pisces. Just want to say I'm so excited for this book again. I can't tell y'all how much fun this is doing the book trap with all of our members from the organization. I also want to say, if you are not a member but want to be a part of Black Hammer and want to be a part of this revolutionary movement and the movement to free your people, then join today at blackhammer.org/join. You can go on our website. It's a really quick, easy process. Just sign up, put your name in, and we will get you right in. We have so many offices, committees, things to plug you into if you want to do work in your community and join a chapter or start a chapter in Black Hammer, then do so today because we got to get free.
No, I totally unite. And I want to say, if you enjoy this type of political education and you're like, I have a book that I want to share with the masses, then join Black Hammer today and suggest your book, to the Agitprop committee. And you could be the next person hosting this book trap. So yeah, like get in here and like share your passion and your knowledge with the masses of colonized people all across the globe. And I'm so excited to be back here next week.
Land back. All right, y'all. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned for more updates, and we will see you on the 14th.